So, you guys know what time it is? I know what time it is. It's Codex time! So, for those of you who haven't watched the previous. What's this? Bionic camper recovered. Find someone in the Citadel who can use these plans, okay? Find someone in the Citadel who can use the alien metagel formula. Okay. For those of you who haven't watched the previous Let's Plays of Mass Effect 1 and 2 that I've done, I read the entire codex, and when I do, I have gradually started to break them up into their own separate episode so that those who don't want to watch them can just skip the episode. Or if I can't fill a whole episode with it, I'll read them, and then wherever I stop reading them, that current episode finishes. So, I'm assuming this will all be its own episode because this is going to be a lot of information here. But if it's not, if there's been minutes here before this reading starts, the rest of this episode is all going to be codex. So if you don't want to sit through it, just skip ahead to the next episode if it is uploaded and available to watch. For those of you who would like to watch this happen, buckle in. Alright, so first we got to go through the ones where the guy actually talks to us.
50,000 years ago, the Protheans were the only spacefaring species in the galaxy. They vanished in a swift galactic extinction. Only the legacy of their empire remains. They are believed to have built the mass relays and the Citadel, which have allowed numerous species to explore and expand throughout the galaxy. Prothean ruins are found on worlds across the galaxy. While surprisingly intact for their age, functioning examples of Prothean paleotechnology are rare. Time and generations of looters have picked their dead cities and derelict stations clean. Some believe the Protheans meddled in the evolution of younger races. The Hanar homeworld of Khaje, for example, shows clear evidence of former Prothean occupation. The presence of a former Prothean observation post on Mars has caused a rebirth of interventionary evolutionists among humans. These individuals believe the god myths of ancient civilizations are misremembered encounters with aliens.
Chief among them being Ridley Scott. So in obviously here in the third game with the DLC, you learned that this is not what the Protheans look like. They look like Javik. But even in the second game, we learned that the collectors are huskified Protheans. So why they retained this screenshot from the very first Mass Effect game as if this was a Prothean, I have no idea. You think they would have replaced it? At least with a picture of a collector or a picture of Javik or something. Strange. Anyway.
The Citadel is an ancient deep space station presumably constructed by the Protheans. Since the Prothean extinction, numerous species have come to call the Citadel home. It serves as the political, cultural, and financial capital of the galactic community. To represent their interests, most species maintain embassies on the Presidium, the Citadel's inner ring. The Citadel Tower in the center of the Presidium holds the Citadel Council chambers. Council affairs often have far-reaching effects on the rest of the galactic community. 5 arms, known as the wards, extend from the Presidium. Their inner surfaces have been built into cities, populated by millions of inhabitants from across the galaxy. The Citadel is virtually indestructible. If attacked, the station can close its arms to form a solid, impregnable shell. For as long as the station has existed, an enigmatic race called the Keepers has maintained it.
We already knew all of this. I'm kind of wondering why this wasn't included in the codex entries that came to us just by starting the game. Instead, we didn't get it until we got to the Citadel. But having played the previous 2 games, we knew all this. And I'm guessing we probably know all this, too. If we do, I'm going to skip it.
Spectres are agents from the Office of Special Tactics and Reconnaissance and answer only
Yeah,
to the
we know all
Citadel
this.
Council. Donald Udina is the lone human on the Citadel Council. Although he has a keen ability for furthering his own political career, Udina has long promoted humanity's interests first and foremost in the galactic arena. When humanity won a position on the Council for its part in defending the Citadel, The Alliance chose Udina for the position. He holds the office to this day. Despite his unwavering focus on human interests, Counselor Udina is usually willing to collaborate with other species. Even his opponents concede that Udina gives fair consideration to non-human proposals, so long as humanity also benefits.
He's also a colossal dick.
A political economic pact for collective colonial security, the Alliance is the central galactic institution of human society. The Alliance gained associate membership to the Citadel Council in 2165, and full membership in 2183, with Ambassador Donald Udina representing humanity. Human political-economic relationships vary between combative and lucrative. The Turians, who'd fought humans during the 2157 First Contact War, have become valuable trade partners, despite residual social hostility. Other relationships are even more complicated. The rapid rise of human political influence on the Council, achieving in decades what others waited or are still waiting centuries to acquire, has galvanized suspicion and resentment against humanity. That negativity is vastly outweighed by the respect and trust humanity earned by saving the Council during the 2183 attack on the Citadel, at the cost of Alliance cruisers Cairo, Cape Town, Emden, Jakarta, Madrid, Seoul, Shenyang, and Warsaw, and their 2,400 crew.
Known associates.
Admiral Stephen Hackett, Dr. Liara Tassoni, is an Asari information broker with a background in scientific research on Prothean technology. Born on Thessia in 2077, she is the only child of the late matriarch Benezia. Although mother and daughter became estranged in the years before Benezia was indoctrinated by the Reaper known as Sovereign. Tassoni is also a highly trained biotic, who served under Commander Shepard aboard the SSV Normandy before the ship was destroyed in a collector attack. Before she became involved in galactic affairs, Dr. Tassoni spent 50 years researching the Protheans' technology and the mystery of their extinction. She now divides her time between uncovering Prothean ruins and consulting with noteworthy representatives of the various Citadel races.
She's also the shadow broker. You'd think they'd mention that. I mean, maybe the person putting this profile together didn't know that, if we're role-playing the game. But given that this codex is for the player, not for Shepard, they should perhaps have included that.
The Enhanced Defense Intelligence, or EDI, serves as an information source and cyber warfare defense system on the rebuilt Normandy SR-2. The ship's crew can access EDI at any terminal or through radio contact. During an attack from a collector vessel, pilot Jeff Joker Moreau gave EDI full access to the Normandy systems, allowing the ship to escape. Although EDI retains the control that Moreau gave her, she is usually content to advise the organic crew members who fly and maintain the ship.
I kind of forgot that EDI still has basically full access to every ship system. Really, that's kind of weird that she lets the humans do it. She should just do it all. I trust her. She's been a little weird lately, but I would think that she's way less fallible than a human crew.
Garrus Vakarian is a noted Turian sharpshooter and combat engineer. He was born on Palaven and became a Citadel security officer like his father, but left the Force when superiors shut down his investigation into the rogue Spectre Saren Arterius. Vakarian eventually discovered that Saren had been indoctrinated by the Reaper known as Sovereign. Vakarian eventually found his way to the criminal haven of Omega and assumed the name Archangel. There, he and a small group of operatives worked to disrupt the settlement's powerful mercenary groups until Shepard recruited him. The Turian narrowly survived the Second Normandy's attack on the Collectors. More recently, Vakarian has become the head of a Turian task force focused on preparing for the Reaper invasion.
I wonder if that narrowly there refers to the fact that he was actually shot while we were trying to close one of the doors and happened to survive it. Or if that's just narrowly meaning like everybody that went on that mission narrowly survived.
Flight Lieutenant Jeff Joker Moreau is a respected pilot with the Alliance Navy. Born and raised on Arcturus Station, he is widely considered to be the best helmsman in the system's alliance. Moreau enlisted with the Navy directly out of school and quickly gained the respect of his superiors. He served as pilot of both the Normandy SR-1 and its successor, the SR-2, and was at their respective helms during the Battle of the Citadel and the assault on the Collectors. Moreau suffers from Vrolik syndrome, a rare debilitating disorder also known as brittle bone disease.
The less time I spend talking about Joker, the better.
Dr. Karen Chakwas is a trauma surgeon and a major in the Alliance Navy. She served on the SSV Normandy under both Captain Anderson and Commander Shepard, and was aboard the ship when it was destroyed by the Collectors. She later quit the Alliance in order to rejoin Shepard on the Cerberus-built Normandy SR-2. Along with most of the Second Normandy's crew, Dr. Chakwas was kidnapped by the Collectors and taken beyond the Omega-4 relay, where Commander Shepard eventually rescued her. After the Alliance impounded the Normandy SR-2, an inquiry found that Dr. Chakwas had no significant role in or provable knowledge of Cerberus's criminal activities. She has since rejoined the Alliance.
Moving right along here to organizations.
In recent years, the pro-human syndicate known as Cerberus has seen its influence grow galaxy-wide. The largely untraceable organization now includes private intelligence agencies, biotics laboratories, research facilities, and the lucrative corporations that provide a front for it all. Cerberus's charismatic leader, known only as the Elusive Man, drives the organization's philosophy and interests. The level of secrecy he maintains puts professional intelligence agencies to shame. As Cerberus grows, so too does public distrust of the organization. Some commentators have remarked that Cerberus is not so much pro-human as it is anti-alien. Others question the blind loyalty of its employees.
I'd say it's not so much pro-human as it is pro-Elusive Man.
The Elusive Man is a human loyalist focused on advancing the interests of his species, whatever the cost to non-humans and reportedly humans. The Citadel Council regards him as a fanatic who poses a serious threat to galactic security. The reclusive tycoon is the head of Cerberus, an organization that furthers his pro-human agenda throughout the galaxy. His views have led him into questionable alliances. Recent rumors go so far as to suggest that the Elusive Man may even have allied with the Reapers.
I wouldn't put it past him.
The John Grissom Academy, founded in 2176, is the Alliance's premier school for young human biotics. The institution is housed in a space station in orbit over the human colony of Elysium. Its main program, the Ascension Project, is designed both to train and monitor young biotics, as well as help them integrate into society after graduation. Unlike the project's previous incarnation, Biotic Acclimation and Temperance Training, or BAT, the training is not exclusively military in nature. The Academy also employs scientific personnel, including Dr. Kaylee Sanders, to develop synthetic intelligence systems and biotic amplifiers like the new L4 implants.
BOT is the training program that, oh god, why can't I think of his name at the moment? Not Ashley. Caden Alenko told us about. God, I should have remembered Caden's name.
Cerberus built the Normandy SR-2 as a second-generation version of the Alliance frigate SSV Normandy after the Collectors destroyed the original. The SR-2's many alterations produced a craft nearly double the original size, requiring an even larger Tantalus drive core to compensate. Its state-of-the-art Kodiak shuttle can make landings the original Normandy could not attempt. The Enhanced Defense Intelligence, an AI known colloquially as EDI, coordinates many of the ship's combat functions, assisting and even supplanting human piloting. The Alliance has recently appropriated and refurbished the SR-2. In addition to tight beam communicators, the Quantum Entanglement Communicator, QEC, provides instantaneous contact with Alliance Command.
We'll do the UT-47A Kodiak entry. I'm going to skip these three because they were all explained in Mass Effect 2.
Originally created to covertly insert Alliance Marines into hostile environments, The UT-47 shuttle has since been sold to Allies, recovered by enemies, and had its specifications stolen by spies. In one form or another, this durable transport is now used in all corners of the galaxy. A-model Kodiaks feature a front-mounted mass accelerator cannon that can be used in an anti-vehicular role. Since the shuttle lacks proper gun ports, soldiers often open the side hatch to fire on enemies. This is discouraged in Alliance manuals since it exposes the interior to return fire. Flying the 47A during atmospheric combat requires considerable skill. The pilot must reduce the vehicle's mass for speed and handling, while maintaining enough mass to resist recoil, incoming fire, and inclement weather. More than one pilot has overstressed the Kodiak's field generator and ended up on the battlefield instead of above it.
I could be wrong, but I thought that most of the guns in the Mass Effect universe use Mass Effect fields to accelerate the rounds that are fired, right? So, saying you have to retain enough mass to resist recoil, I don't see how that makes sense, because you're reducing... Of course, the mass of the ship is reduced by its Mass Effect fields, but the Mass Effect fields in your weapon are reducing the mass of the projectile being fired, right? So recoil should be comparable regardless. I could see having to counteract incoming fire and weather, for sure, but recoil shouldn't really be a factor, should it? I don't know. Let's just skip through these. Technology.
Biotics is the ability
wait, we
of
know
rare
this.
individuals to manipulate
Genophage.
dark energy. The Genophage
We know all this too, but we'll
bioweapon
listen.
was created to end the Krogan rebellions. The Turians fought the Krogan to a standstill, but the sheer weight of Krogan numbers indicated they could not be stopped through conventional means. The Turians collaborated with the Solarians to engineer a genetic counter to the Krogan's rapid breeding. The genophage virus replicated by eating key genetic sequences, altering every cell of Krogan physiology, so the Krogan could not use gene therapy to fix the affected tissues. Once a genophage strain could replicate no more, it would starve and die, limiting mutation and contamination. In addition, the created genetic flaw is hereditary. The resulting mutation made only 1 in 1,000 Krogan pregnancies carry to term, reducing offspring viability rather than fertility. Krogan warlords fought battles over the females able to carry children to term. The release of the genophage is still controversial and bitterly debated in many circles.
Right. Yeah, we already knew all that, so I guess I could have skipped it. Let's see,
The
what's new
Reaper
here?
called Harbinger
We know
is
indoctrination.
believed to be the Reaper indoctrination is an insidious means of
Reaper
corrupting
variants?
the Citadel races have classified
Yeah, here we go.
the
Let's
known
listen to this.
variants of Reapers into 4 types. Capital ships are Sovereign-class Reapers 2 kilometers in length. They typically target the dreadnoughts, defense installations, and industrial cities of organic civilizations. Experts believe the Reapers harvest a single species of organics during each cycle of extinction to create these massive ships. Some capital ships are capable of launching small drones equivalent to fighters. Destroyers are 160 meters long and, in astounding numbers, make up the bulk of the Reaper fleet. They engage cruisers and other smaller ships, as well as communications posts and enemy command centers. Research suggests destroyers are created from those species that are not harvested to make capital ships. Troop transports carry husks to unconquered planets and bring victims of the harvest to Reaper processing centers. They vary in length from 200 meters to 1 kilometer, but unlike capital ships and destroyers, do not appear to be self-aware. Instead, other Reapers operate troop transports remotely. Processors, also called slaughter ships, are mobile centers for mass DNA harvesting. Like troop transports, processors appear to be remotely operated by sapient Reapers.
So that's the first time that we've heard... We knew before that capital ships were built out of one race from each harvesting. We did not know that destroyers are built from races not used to make capital ships. So that would mean, like, in this cycle, for example, they might choose, say, the Asari to make their capital ship, although in Mass Effect 2 it seemed they were already trying to choose humans, And then other species like Solarians, Turians, Krogan, Volus, all that stuff would be used to make their destroyers. Creepy. Gross. We already know everything about husks.
Husks
So
are
let's
the
just read
aggressive
about
mind-
brutes,
the brute
cannibals, and
is a
marauders.
hulking amalgamation of Turian and Krogan victims of the Reapers. Because tissue from dextroprotein species like the Turians is incompatible with levoprotein species like the Krogan, implants regulate the brute's body chemistry to combat organ rejection. It is the fusion of Turian military skill and Krogan blood rage that makes the brute such a formidable enemy, capable of destroying armored vehicles to get to the soldiers inside. Troops are advised to keep their distance and, whenever possible, not engage a brute alone.
Why would you even fuck with that? Why not just leave the Krogan head on there? Why replace it with the Turian head and then have to deal with this compatibility issue? I don't know, it's silly.
Cannibals are frontline Reaper units created from corrupted Batarians. The nickname refers to their propensity to devour the bodies of fallen comrades. This triggers a biochemical process through which the cannibals spontaneously heal themselves and grow new chitinous armor. The transformation also appears to give cannibals a greater awareness of their surroundings, leading to more strategic behavior and careful use of battlefield cover.
Okay.
Marauders are harvested Turians that command and protect other Reaper troops. The lean, armored creatures present a significant threat in and of themselves, but they are especially dangerous when leading a Reaper task force. Alliance Marines have observed Marauders fortifying husks and cannibals by enveloping them in a ribbon of energy that forms a scabby shell of armor. For this reason, when Alliance soldiers encounter a Marauder alongside husks or cannibals, standing orders are to target the Marauder first.
Understood. What do we got here?
Although melee combat applications for the Omni tool are almost as old as the device itself, the feature was largely unused prior to the Reaper invasion. The need to take on multiple husks in close quarters forced the Alliance to develop ways to enhance the tool's offensive capability. The most common melee design is the Omni-Blade, a disposable silicon carbide weapon flash-forged by the tool's mini-fabricator. The transparent, nearly diamond-hard blade is created and suspended in a Mass Effect field safely away from the user's skin. Warning lights illuminate the field so the searing hot blade only burns what it is intended to: the opponent. More technically adept soldiers frequently modify their Omni tools to maximize stopping power through electrical, kinetic, or thermal energy. Some troops integrate the weapon with their kinetic barriers, transforming the Omni tool into a wrist-mounted bludgeon. Others fabricate flammable gases, held in place by a Mass Effect field and ignited upon impact. All prove deadly surprises for opponents who expect a disarmed Alliance warrior.
Always thought, even from the first time I played this game, that the Omni Blade was kind of a stupid addition. Because the Omni tool is basically like your computer, right? It's your everything. It's your iPhone / medical diagnostic tool, right? It does all kinds of advanced crap. It just seems goofy to say, yeah, put a fucking blade on it, man, and then bash people with it. It's a computer. Let it do computer things. It's fine. We have guns that fire slugs at nearly the speed of light. Just let the computer be the computer. It's fine. I don't know why we needed a badass melee weapon. Okay, so this is the part that we actually get to read. Collectors we know all about. Krogan Ancient History. I'm pretty sure we know all about this. Oh, this is actually relatively new. Hang on, let me read this. The lack of adequately preserved archives presents a significant obstacle to research into ancient Krogan history. Nevertheless, recent archaeological discoveries have shed new light on the topic, revealing a society once rich with cultural, architectural, and artistic accomplishments. Newly discovered ruins reveal that the Krogan had particularly advanced understandings of structural and geotechnical engineering, as compared to other cultures at similar stages of development. Old Krogan architecture demonstrates seismic loading techniques that would have both resisted earthquakes and diffused the small-scale vibrations from vehicles in their sprawling cities. Curiously, however, Tuchanka has little natural tectonic activity. Instead, researchers believe the ancient Krogan were concerned with the safe cohabitation with one of the planet's apex predators, Kalros, mother of all thresher maws. Prior to the Genophage, Krogan population growth was limited by predation, disease, and war. Even so, the birth rate exploded once the Krogan achieved industrialization, leading to wars over resources and living space. Other species on Tuchanka suffered greatly as the Krogan expanded. When the Krogan ran out of land, they settled into an arms race that ended in nuclear devastation. Tuchanka's relatively short golden age was at an end. But this ancient history may yet aid the modern Krogan. Some of the techniques and technology discovered in the ruins could be used to improve standard colonization equipment, signaling economic renewal for the Krogan at last. It's the first time we've heard the mother of all thresher maws mentioned. Krogan rebellions. After the Rachni War, the quick-breeding Krogan expanded at the expense of their neighbors. Warlords leveraged their veteran soldiers to seize living space while the council races were still grateful. Over centuries, the Krogan conquered world after world. There was always, quote-unquote, just one more needed. We've read this already, but I'll finish it now. In the previous game, we've read this. When the council finally demanded withdrawal from the Asari colony of Lucia, Krogan overlord Kredek stormed off the citadel, daring the council to take their worlds back. But the council had taken precautions. The finest STG operators and Asari huntresses had been drafted into a covert observation force, the Office of Special Tactics and Reconnaissance. The Spectres opened the war with crippling strategic strikes. Krogan planets went dark as computer viruses flooded the extranet. Sabotaged antimatter refineries disappeared in blue-white annihilation. Headquarters stations shattered into orbit-clogging debris, rammed by pre-placed suicide freighters. I'm kind of surprised. We'll get to it here in a second, actually. I'll suspend my commentary. Still, this only delayed the inevitable. The war would have been lost if not for first contact with the Turians, who responded to Krogan threats with a prompt declaration of war. Being on the far side of Krogan space from the Council, the Turians advanced rapidly into the lightly defended Krogan rear areas. The Krogan responded by dropping space stations and asteroids on Turian colonies. 3 worlds were rendered completely uninhabitable. This was precisely the wrong approach to take with the Turians. Each is first and foremost a public servant, willing to risk his life to protect his comrades. Rather than increasing public war weariness, Krogan tactics stiffened Turian resolve. The arrival of Turian task forces saved many worlds from the warlords' marauding fleets, but it took development of the Genophage bioweapon to end the war. There were decades of unrest afterwards. Rogue warlords and holdout groups of insurgents refused to surrender or disappeared into the frontier system to become pirates. What I was going to say was, I'm kind of surprised that the Spectres, I guess I kind of forgot this, that the Spectres were formed specifically to combat the Krogan. I'm also kind of surprised that I forgot that the Turians were not actually in the galactic community until after the Krogan had already ascended and kicked the shit out of everybody. But anyway, the reason I'm surprised about the Spectre thing is because the Spectres were formed specifically to combat the Krogan, right? I mean, obviously their role expanded after the Krogan War was ended. But I'm kind of surprised that the Krogan don't make any kind of stink about the special force that was developed to combat specifically them is still around. It'd be almost like, it's not the same thing, obviously, but it'd be almost like if the German state still had a state police known as the Gestapo or something. Like they were formed specifically to root out Jews and communists and anti-Nazis. It'd be weird if these days, after that conflict is over and done with, and In the past, you still had a police organization known as the Gestapo. That's kind of what Spectres are like these days. A little weird. You'd think the Krogan would be like, hey, what the hell, man? Get rid of the Spectres, please. Especially given that there hasn't been, as far as we know, a Krogan Spectre, right? Anyway. Citadel and Galactic Government. We probably know all this. We know all this stuff. I'm not going to bother reading it. This is all stuff that should have been included from the very beginning and was only added later. Humanity and the Systems Alliance. We probably know all this as well. Ooh, no, we don't know. Alliance News Network. Founded during the early decades of human space expansion, the Alliance News Network was originally a low-profile news organization known mostly for a series of exposés on the First Contact War. With a focus on galaxy-wide reporting, the ANN opened bureaus on planets across known space, winning a few awards for excellence and earning a multi-species audience. The Alliance News Network has never been funded by the Systems Alliance, despite what its name might imply. This led to regular confusion among those not in the know, although the network's recent high-profile sale to a media conglomerate made the ownership structure clearer. The new management has opted for a more sensational approach. This is particularly obvious from changes to its roster of reporters, with a few of the network's luminaries retiring or joining other news organizations. The network's increasingly lurid programming has gained wide attention as well as sorely needed ratings. All the proof that management is needed to validate its course. Nonetheless, ANN insists that integrity and credibility are inviolable standards in the newsroom. Battlespace is among ANN's highest-rated programs, known for a particularly titillating breed of reporting, you don't say. Among the show's most noteworthy segments are Diana Aller's dispatches from the front lines. The network calls her reports gritty and realistic, but she has been criticized for her unabashed focus on the violence of war. Even critics of Aller's agree, however, that despite her often graphic visuals, the facts she reports are just that, facts. Sure. Systems Alliance Special Operations. Interplanetary Combatives Training, ICT, is the Systems Alliance premier school for leadership and combat experience. The Interplanetary Combatives Academy, sometimes called N School or the Villa, recruits officers from every branch of Earth's militaries to partake in grueling courses at Via Militar in Rio de Janeiro. Initially, candidates trained for more than 20 hours per day, Jesus Christ, leading small combat teams through hostile terrain with little sleep or food. Trainees who do well are awarded an internal designation of N1 and are invited to return. Subsequent courses, N2 through N6, are often held off-planet and include instruction in zero-G combat, military freefall, parachuting, jetpack flight, combat diving, combat instruction, linguistics, and frontline trauma for care for human and alien biology. The highest grade of training, N6, provides actual combat experience in conflict zones throughout the galaxy. If the trainee survives these scenarios in admirable and effective fashion, he or she finally receives the coveted N7 designation. N7 is the only ICT designation that may be worn on field or dress uniforms. There is little shame in failing an N course. The training is so extreme that even qualifying for N1 elevates an officer to a position of respect. The universal prestige of merely attending the academy helps to restrain trainees from taking excessive risks in pursuit of higher honors. Although ICT qualification by itself does not guarantee higher rank, those officers who are able to complete the program are typically well suited to senior leadership positions. I think we've already been exposed to all of this information too, but it's always good to remind ourselves what Shepard is a graduate of. From Ashes. This is Javik's DLC. Planets and locations, Eden Prime. Oh gosh, we know Eden Prime almost like the back of our hand. I guess we gotta read it though, because it's updated. In 2151, as the first anxious settlers made their way through the new Charon mass relay, many of them wondered whether the reality of life on Eden Prime could possibly live up to the stories of pristine landscapes that drew them there. What the colonists found exceeded their expectations. A stable climate and compatible biology made the colony almost instantly viable. Over the next few decades, several million humans immigrated to Eden Prime, and a primarily agrarian culture developed. The new colony quickly became not only self-sufficient, but began exporting goods. Chief among these were rare plants grown from Earth's many heritage seed libraries. Excuse me. But in 2183, the colonists faced a true test of their character. Eden Prime was attacked by the rogue Spectre Saren Arterius and his Geth allies. Not long after, the Citadel was attacked by those same forces, and Eden Prime's neighboring world, Terra Nova, found itself threatened with complete destruction. Faced with such violence, a lesser citizenry might have retreated back to the safety of Earth, as so many colonists of Terra Nova did. But Eden Prime's governing body refused to give in. Not only did the colonists vote overwhelmingly to block a measure calling for the building of evacuation ships, they voted to ease restrictions on immigrants from Terra Nova looking for a new home. As a result, Eden Prime's population has swelled. Whatever the war might bring, its status as a symbol of humanity's future in the stars remains unblemished. Prothean Beacon. In 2183, human scientists uncovered a Prothean technological artifact on the planet of Eden Prime. While repelling an attack by Saren Arterius' Geth allies, Commander Shepard's squad came into the artifact's proximity and set it off. The object, described as a beacon, sent the commander jumbled sounds and images intended to warn of the imminent Reaper invasion. The beacon overloaded during the process and violently exploded. While the vision it provided was dismissed by the Citadel Council as a highly subjective experience, since that time, the Council's Committee on Paleotechnology have analyzed the fragments of the beacon in an effort to understand how it communicated. What they found was not quite the telepathic technology that the Alliance Marines described in their reports. The beacon was equipped with a Mass Effect field generator to hold its subject immobile, a necessary step to minimize collateral damage during the rest of the process. The beacon then nearly instantaneously scanned the structure of its target's optic and auditory nerves, as well as many parts of the brain responsible for memory. Once its expert system determined the proportions of these key features, the beacon stimulated them with pinpoint electromagnetic and other irradiative energy, using powerful programs to recreate any images or sound the beacon required. In principle, this was similar to the popular entertainment device known as a SimStim, but vastly more comprehensive. SimStims direct the senses, not memory. The Normandy's medical officer noted that the beacon delivered more information over the space of seconds than a SimStim could in hours, and managed to do so to a species whose physiology was completely unknown to its designers. To a paleotech, the fact that Commander Shepard needed assistance to decipher the message is a minor footnote compared to the Protheans' accomplishment, getting any of the message to Shepard at all. That's the first time we've seen any information on how the beacon actually worked, apart from, some weird mumbo-jumbo mind stuff. That's kind of cool. Organizations. God, okay. We do need to read all these. This is all new. Cerberus Atlas. With the Atlas, Cerberus's research arm has combined the deadly armor and firepower of a Ymir mech with the tactical superiority of a trained human pilot. An Element Zero core allows the Atlas to be airdropped onto a battlefield with minimal impact damage. Its thick armor includes a robust, transparent canopy made from a polycrystalline composite proprietary to Cerberus. Alliance engineers hypothesize that the material is some kind of synthetic sapphire, composed with interlayers to resist cracking and thermal damage. Although the Atlas is somewhat unwieldy in the field, its anti-personnel machine guns and ability to shrug off damage from anything short of a heavy weapon makes it a fearsome opponent. Heavy loss of life is to be expected in any unprepared encounter with this unit. Cerberus Centurion. Centurions are Cerberus's front-line tacticians. They are meant to enact the elusive man's strategic goals, although it is clear that they have leeway to adapt as an encounter develops. The only useful intelligence that the Alliance has gathered on Centurions relates to their armament. Each Centurion carries an M96 Matic heavy rifle modified to launch smoke grenades, leaving enemies vulnerable to crossfire. Cerberus Engineer. Cerberus combat engineers are specialized support units that assist primary forces while staying out of the line of fire. They wear lighter armor than the typical Cerberus combatant, using a modified mesh that allows greater mobility. Undercover and out of sight, engineers focus on setting up and maintaining turrets, as well as repairing mechanical units or armored allies. When confronted, they return fire only for as long as it takes them to find cover again, and let frontline combat personnel take over. Although engineers are not particularly dangerous on their own, the Alliance specifically warns troops to remain alert for turrets, which can mow down an entire squad while the engineer escapes. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Cerberus Guardian. Guardians, the Cerberus equivalent of human tanks, are slow-moving soldiers who carry enormous polycrystalline composite shields. The weight of the shield requires an armored suit equipped with hydraulic assists and a dedicated power supply. Combining this exceptional protection with a suite of enviro-mapping systems, Guardians focus on flanking opponents to flush them from cover. A Guardian's slow but relentless approach is intended to demoralize enemies as well as draw their fire, but rip away their shield and Guardians become little more than cannon fodder. Nemesis. The Nemesis is a Cerberus sniper specialist. Customized implants allow the Nemesis to withstand the crippling kickback of the M98 Widow anti-material rifle, turning a redoubtable opponent into a force capable of inflicting instant death. A suite of high-tech scanning equipment makes the sniper adept at maintaining cover, meaning a Nemesis is usually spotted only after opening fire, assuming the target survives the first round. Because of self-destruct mechanisms that activate upon the sniper's death, the Alliance has never retrieved an example of Nemesis augmentation technology. This fact, combined with Cerberus Force's penchant for suicide when faced with capture, has made scientific study of their implants impossible. Cerberus Trooper. Assault troopers are the backbone of Cerberus forces. These candidates who make it through the grueling basic training are submitted to an intense psychological program that renders them fearless, disciplined, and unrelenting. Outfitted with custom-designed armor and rifles, these soldiers function with determined precision and practiced teamwork. The first to rush into a fight, assault troopers often work in tandem with more powerful units. They make strategic use of this scenario, keeping their opponents occupied until it is too late to react to the combined Cerberus forces bearing down on them. Cerberus Force bearing down on them. Fine. Whew, we're almost there. Planets and locations. Pharaoh's Freedom Park, blah, 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 blah. Sanctum. Sanctum is known for the freezing ice storms which sweep across its poles and temperate zones, with only a thin strip of habitable land along the equator. Because of those harsh living conditions, Sanctum attracts only the most gruff and hardy, from miners to mercenaries to company men. Mining, referred to as ice cracking anywhere but the equator, is the backbone of Sanctum's economy. The planet is rich in platinum and palladium deposits, as well as boron, which is usually located in semiconductor which is locally used in semiconductor doping. Sanctum's corporate factions have learned that Cerberus is involved in the planet's finances. Systems Alliance intelligence agents embedded within the corporate strata are quietly urging the companies to confront Cerberus directly, but so far financial bickering has kept Sanctum's major stakeholders from acting against the elusive man. The Fall of Earth. The Reapers took Earth in a matter of hours. The Alliance knew the first wave would arrive from Batarian space, but they were unprepared for the speed and scale of the attack. The Reapers bypassed the 6th and 7th fleets at Terra Nova and Eden Prime, flying straight from relay to relay where they could neither be tracked nor intercepted. The tactic was unexpected, since the navies of organic species would never risk coming out of FTL within combat range or leaving enemies at their backs to threaten supply lines. At Arcturus Station, more than a dozen Reaper capital ships engaged the Alliance's 2nd, 3rd, and 5th fleets. This was mere screening for the main force. Dozens more capital ships continued through the Charon relay, where the 1st fleet had been lying in wait but was soon destroyed. The Fourth Fleet, near Earth, had a few minutes of advance warning. It stood no better chance. After destroying Earth's comm buoys, smaller Reaper destroyers wiped out all GPS and communications satellites in Earth's orbit and cut the undersea fiber optic cables that linked the continents. Earth's resistance now relies on outdated radio towers and a few quantum entanglement communicators whose matched pairs happen to be on other continents or outside the Sol system. Communication is so limited that the fate of entire nations remains unknown. The capital ships bombarded defense installations and industrial centers, annihilating entire cities with populations in the low millions, including Adelaide, Hamburg, Aljubail, maybe? And Fort Worth. Fort Worth? No! Meanwhile, Reaper destroyers descended into the atmosphere to melt roads and capture population centers with minimal loss of life. This is not an example of the Reapers being merciful. More likely, they are hurting their prey to make the coming harvest that much easier. The Battle of Palaven. When Tetris fell, the game Tetris has fallen. The Turians knew little about the Reapers except that they wanted to enrage the Turians. Staying calm, the Turians massed in force around Palaven, their homeworld. Fleet Admiral Irix Coronati, what became known as the 15-minute plan, stationed only 2 characters, Undaunted and Resolute, near the system's relay. When the Reaper fleet emerged, the carriers launched swarms of unmanned fighters and spy drones. These were quickly destroyed, but the drones transmitted vital data on the Reaper's effective range, fleet composition, and exact location. The Turians' other ships then deployed to defend the system in earnest. Knowing that the Reaper's weapons had a longer effective range than any of his own, Coronati made a short, daring FTL jump, landing his dreadnoughts in the middle of the Reaper fleet. The dreadnoughts then turned to line up their main guns on the Reapers, which also needed to turn to fire on the Turians. This ploy used the Reapers' size against them. Because they could turn faster, the Turian dreadnoughts locked targets first, and their concentrated firepower downed several Reaper capital ships. In the original Mass Effect, when we first find out that Sovereign is a Reaper and not just a ship, when we're on Vermeer, there's a part right after that speech by Sovereign where Joker's like, "Sir, I don't know what you did, but you pissed off that ship. It just pulled off a turn that would have shorn our ship in half," or something like that. So the Reaper's size doesn't really seem to be an inhibitor on their ability to turn. Maybe the Turians maybe it took the Reapers some time to turn, and it didn't take the Turians any time, and so that little advantage was enough, but we've already learned, at least in the original game, that the Reaper ships are unbelievably maneuverable. The Reapers countered instantly. Their destroyers performed a jump of their own to the skies above Palaven, beginning orbital strikes on Turian cities. The Turians, forced to defend the planet, found themselves in a pitched battle far from the relay, from which emerged a seemingly endless line of Reaper ships. After massive casualties, Coronati ordered retreat. The Turians insist that Palaven is not lost. The battle has merely moved to the ground. Reaper troop transports have dumped hordes of husks to capture Palaven's inhabitants, but met with little success. Reaper capital ships are destroying city after city, but much of the Turian fleet is still operable, and the citizenry is heavily armed. That's kind of funny. It's like Texas. The Turians refuse to be intimidated. The Reapers. Reaper capabilities. Oh my god, this is it, we're almost done. The Reapers are technologically superior to the organic species of the galaxy, but the degree of that superiority is a matter of debate in the intelligence community. The Reapers' thrusters and FTL drives appear to propel them at more than twice the speed of Citadel ships. Estimates of their location in dark space suggest they can travel nearly 30 light years in a 24-hour period. Holy shit. Reaper power sources seem to violate known physical laws. Reapers usually destroy fuel infrastructure rather than attempting to capture it intact. indicating that Reapers do not require organic species energy supplies. Consequently, the Reapers attack without regard for maintaining supply lines behind them, except to move husks from one planet to another. Unlike Citadel ships, Reapers do not appear to discharge static buildup from their drive cores, although they sometimes appear wreathed in static discharge when they land on planets. The main gun on a Reaper capital ship dwarfs that of the Alliance's Everest-class dreadnoughts. No dreadnought has yet survived a direct hit from the weapon. Estimates put its destructive power at anywhere from 132 to 454 kilotons of TNT. Even if the target is hardened, as in the case of a surface-based missile silo, the gun can instead bury the target beneath molten metal. Precise targeting computers and correctors also give Reaper weapons a longer effective range than organic dreadnoughts or cruisers. Kinetic barriers on a Reaper capital ship can shrug off the firepower of a small fleet. Weapons specifically designed to overcome shields, such as the Javelin, Guardian lasers, or the Thanix series, can bypass the barriers to some degree. The difficulty is getting close enough to use them. Surface-mounted weaponry on Reaper ships, similar in principle to Guardian, presents an effective defense against organic species fighters. Whew! We're done. I'm going to save it because what the hell. That was the entirety of the Codex. We will peruse the journal here in a second and figure out what we're going to do next, but I don't want to do that in this episode because I want anybody who skipped ahead to see that part. So, bear with me just one moment.